Hey, what's up, everybody? On today's episode, we're going to be talking with Andrea Gordon. She's one of the top real estate agents in the East Bay area. She's going to share a story of how she got started, as well as how she stays successful. So stay tuned and enjoy this episode.
Today, we're joined with extraordinary real estate professional and entrepreneur Andrea Gordon. I see your ads on buses and in the newspaper all over the place. So we know you are a top agent in the East Bay. Andrea, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah. Vincent, how are you doing?
Oh, great, great. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. And so I wanted to start kind of like in the intro, Andrea, is that, oftentimes people don't necessarily view real estate agents as being entrepreneurs or running their own business. But
Mhm.
but I know you feel quite the contrary to that. And I wanted you to sort of get into that. Like, how is a real estate agent or real estate professional truly an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I really think it's important for anybody who's interested in getting into real estate to realize that they're going to be running their own business. When you put your license with a real estate company, really what you're doing is hanging out your shingle there. They are there to do a variety of different things, provide tech services, provide support, provide, legal services, all of that kind of stuff. And for that, they charge you a fee. So when you are a real estate agent, you are an entrepreneur on your own with your own business. You are not an employee. You don't work for the man, you work for yourself. And you better be prepared to understand marketing, how you get yourself out there into the world, because it is not, no one's going to hand anything to you on a silver platter. It isn't going to happen.
Mhm. And then also speak to how, like a real estate professional really has a team of people around them, right? Like it's not like you have a team, you have employees that you hire. Oftentimes if we see a real estate professional or maybe even like a mortgage broker or a financial planner, like we just see their face and we think that, well, it's just them.
Right.
But there's really a team of people that make this all happen, right?
Yes, of course. I mean, I on average do around $70 million worth of business a year. Some years are better, some years are worse, but that's about what it is. And you can't do that without a group of people that help you to do what you do. So in my world, I have two assistants that function both as my assistants as well as my listing coordinators. And they sit at inspections. They help me with aesthetic choices, making houses ready for the market, making sure that photographs are scheduled properly, making sure that video is scheduled properly, making sure that all of those things happen. I also have a virtual assistant who's based out of the Philippines who helps me with a lot of the more rote things that someone can do, like keeping up with my database, sending out bulk mailings, ordering marketing materials, that sort of thing. And then I also have a transaction coordinator who makes sure that my file stays complete and that I have everything that needs to be in there for the file. And then I'm unusual in that I refer buyer business out. I work with the buyers that I want to work with, and I refer the buyer business out to other people who give me a referral fee. There are a lot of agents out there that have like 10 or 12 buyers agents. I've never really wanted to do that because generally speaking, what you're doing is mentoring a whole group of people, which takes you out of the business. And if I can make just as much money doing it the way that I do it, why would I set myself up for that? Also, I don't want to be responsible for other people's work. So that's how I do it. And I pay people very, very well. And ideally, they stay with me for a very, very long time. And, there are agents out there, as I said, that have like 10, 12, 18 people that are part of their team. To me, at that point, you're running a brokerage. You might as well just make your own business, put a sign up, and realize that you're going to be a manager rather than actually being a real estate professional working in the field.
So, Andrea, I heard that you were a theater director, producer, and
It was a failure of a big play that I did. A long time ago,
oh, wow.
a long time ago, I borrowed money from my sister, friends. I got people to invest in a very sort of like that film, The Producers. I got a bunch of people to invest in a project that I was doing. It was a play called Liverpool Fantasy by the wonderful Larry Kirwan, who now writes children's books, but at the time he was the leader of a punk band called Black 47. And it was a sort of like It's a Wonderful Life, but it was a tale about the Beatles. And the Beatles, in it, they picked the wrong hit single. They never become famous. And so the play takes place one night in John's horrible flat in Liverpool, where he lives with his son, Julian, who's the leader of a neo fascist organization. And Paul has become a lounge singer named Paul Montana. And he's coming through Liverpool on a bus and truck tour and decides to meet up with his old mates that night. Ringo has married a hairdresser, and George has become a monk. And so they all meet in the house that evening, and all sorts of content about the Beatles is discussed, what have you. And it explores the homoerotic content of the relationship between John and Paul, because back in those days we were all thinking that they were maybe a couple or something. And I got incredible reviews in the gay press. I got incredible reviews in a lot of the smaller local papers. But the Chronicle, the San Jose Mercury News, and the Examiner, which was at the time a big paper, all decided that you couldn't write a play like this about the Beatles, that it was sacrilege, that the Beatles anthology had just come out, which was probably done before either one of you were born, but but people were being very, very nostalgic and romantic about the Beatles at that point in time. And so basically they killed us in the big papers, and ticket sales started falling off, and I was defiant because the show was so good. I couldn't bear the thought of closing it down when it was excellent. And so audiences dwindled, and it was a fully union show. It was costing an arm and a leg every week at a theater that was charging an arm and a leg for rent. And I lost all of the money that everybody had given me. And I found myself working a minimum wage job at the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, not having a way of paying this money back. So I borrowed a suit from my sister and started interviewing at different places and just making things up wholesale, because I had always worked in theater or at universities, and I had never had a job in my entire life. And I finally landed in this advertising agency in Sausalito with my own corner office and my own secretary, from basically memorizing high-tech terms and pretending I knew what I was doing. And in 1 year, I paid back all the money that I had borrowed and that I had gotten from other people. And the morning of the day that I realized that I could afford to quit, I quit. I went into my boss's office and asked him, if he knew that I knew nothing about what I was advertising, which was advertisement for high tech professionals. It was a recruiting firm. And he said, "Yeah, but I could tell you were going to be great. I knew you didn't know anything about any of this." So at that point, I thought, well, I'm a pretty good salesperson. If I've been able to pull myself out of this kind of a hole, what else could I sell? So I ended up selling high-end wine to different hotels for quite some time. But it's really messy being a wine person, and you end up having to carry bottles all over the place. And it was just awful. Um, and so I did very well at that as well, and thought, okay, well, I don't like this, but what else could I sell? So I went to I love cars. I drive a Porsche. I really like them. And I also went to real estate offices. So I went to the car dealerships and real estate offices. And what I noticed were that if you go to the car dealerships, all the salespeople were men, and the women were like the receptionists and the service receptionists. And when you went to the real estate offices, most of the people were women. And so I thought, I'll probably do better in a real estate office than in a dealership, because I probably won't be able to get the kind of job or the kind of clients that I need in order to really survive. So I got my real estate license, and my first month in the business, I made 6 sales. And I've pretty much been doing that ever
Wow, that is
since.
an amazing story. I wasn't expecting for you to go there with that.
Yeah, I wasn't either. That totally threw me off.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that you made it here.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I love real estate. One of the things that I love about real estate is that you are changing the community one sale at a time. You are meeting people at very complex moments in their lives. Usually somebody's died, been born, their kids have gone off to college, they have to downsize, they're upsizing, they've gotten a new job, they've lost their job. So these are very emotional points in people's lives. And also, these are people that are choosing to move into different communities. And I'm an extremely political person. I live in Berkeley. I'm a complete left-leaning liberal Democrat. I always will be. And so I see myself as changing the community and bringing people that care about their streets, care about their cities, care about their health, education, the welfare of all people wherever I go. So for me, doing real estate is a very political act. I still do a ton of theater. I still am very involved in that as well. But I kind of like real reality in some ways better than I like fake reality, because real reality actually makes a huge difference in people's lives, one person at a time.
So, Andrea, you mentioned in your story that there were a lot of women at the real estate office when you visited that.
Hmm.
Why do
Yeah.
you think that is? Why do you think that real estate draws so many women?
Well, I mean, there's a fallacy around real estate that you can make your own hours. The reality is you are living within everybody else's hours. You are showing property at 7:30 in the morning before somebody has to go into work. You're showing property after 7 o'clock at night when they get home from work or during their lunch hour. You are working on the schedules of all the different people that are involved in all the different parts of it. But when you get attracted to real estate, you think it's because you're going to be able to make your own time. I was under no such illusion when I got into the business. I knew it was going to be full time. I knew, because I literally took every dime I had to pay back all that money, and I was broke. And I knew that I wanted a better life than the life that I was having. So I put myself really, 100% into what I was doing. And for really about 16 years of my time in real estate, and I've been doing it now for almost 27, um, I was focused 100% on real estate. And it's only been in the last, like, I want to say 10 years that I've gone back into the arts and realized I can carve out a life for myself and do this. But that's because I've got the right systems in place, I've got the right people in place, and I'm used to sleeping 4 hours a night. So, so, one of the reasons why it draws women is because women do have unusual schedules. Women are the caretakers. Women are the people that are usually taking care of the home and the kids. It's not exactly equal, but it is what it is. And so, when you go into real estate, you can work out a schedule where you can pick your kids up from school on time, or you can go grocery shopping at, 2 in the afternoon, or you can, so those kinds of things, you find the little pockets of time and capability where you can. That's number one. Number two, there's not a huge high bar to entry into real estate. For the most part, now you pretty much need to take a few classes. You need to have some college credit classes behind you, and you get your license. And it's sort of like learning how to drive a car. You get your license and then you learn how to do it. So it takes years to become a really good real estate agent, but it's a low bar to entry. And so that actually is something that would make it more possible for women. Um, 70% of real estate agents are women. The 30% of real estate agents that are men are people of color. Just want to point that out to you. So it has traditionally been a place where people that might be marginalized in other ways can actually excel. And that's also really important to me too, because I'm like DEI down to the nth degree, and feel like we're living in a world right now where all of those rights and capabilities and possibilities are really at stake, and we all need to carve out our niche and fight for that
Mhm,
every chance we get.
mhm, mhm. Let me ask you this. Something you said raised this question to me is you sort of you were talking about success in the business. What do
Mhm.
you think your secret sauce is? What do you think makes people come to you, stay with you, refer people to you? Like, what is it about you that you think attracts customers?
Well, the first thing is that I'm really authentic. I don't fake things. I've gotten to the point where I don't even wear makeup anymore. I'm like done with that. So I'm if you like me, and you will work with me, and you will be comfortable with me. I'm very smart. I'm highly educated. I'm very analytical. I have a good sense of humor. Um, what else can I say about myself? um, no, really seriously, at best, I think the biggest thing of all is that because I've been doing this for so long, I really know what to expect, and I really know how to prepare people, and I know how to get people through what they need to get through. I've also, for a long time, been perfectly aware that it's not my money, it's your money. And that's I see a lot of real estate agents that forget that they forget to remember that the person who is going to be paying for the house, or who the person who's selling the house, it's their money. And so you have to be very mindful of that, because that's a huge responsibility. And I think a lot of people are a little cavalier about that, and I'm not. So I think that's another thing, and I think people know that about me. Yeah. And I also tell the truth. So if you are, and I learned a long time ago that that's part of what people are hiring. People want you to be truthful with them. They don't want to sugarcoat anything. They just want to know what's real. And so if they know what's real, then they can make an informed decision that will help them. If they don't, then there's a problem. I've made those mistakes. When I was first starting out as an agent, I was such a people pleaser. I wanted people to like me. I wanted them to feel great about everything all the time. And that's not the best way to do things. You can end up in situations where somebody really needs to hear a solid truth about something. And at the end of the day, if for some reason they fire you for telling that truth, you're better off, actually. So that's I think what my quote unquote secret sauce is that enough?
That's perfect for me. So one of the things that I'm really curious to know is you went, so you've already admitted that you're very good at sales, and you jumped right in and immediately had started having success. But what do you think were the attributes that you have that make you an instant success like that, or as successful as you are in real estate?
Honestly, it's my theater training. um I can get up in front of thousands of people and talk to them. I don't have a problem with that. So because I can talk to anybody, I'm well prepared to deal with the public. And also, I think because I have gone through improv classes, I know how to think on my feet. I'm quick with rejoinders and things like that. Um, I think theater is a very, very wonderful thing for anybody involved in the sales industry, because it helps you, particularly improv or maybe public speaking. Those are all routes you can take that will, like Toastmasters, those kinds of things. Those are all routes you can take that will get you to the point where you don't get self-conscious in front of people, where you realize what's important is to impart the information, and the you actually get to the point where you enjoy it. And I think that being a theater person, I've always enjoyed it. So it's not something that doesn't come naturally to me, if that makes
No, that
sense.
makes total sense.
So
I'm also a real estate professional, and so that's why they stress doing role play and things like that, so that you get
exactly.
comfortable and you don't get caught off guard by an objection or anything like that from a
E-
client.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
and so another thing that I really want to ask you, because I'm such a fan of yours from a distance.
Mhm.
So like it's incredible the amount of work that you do and the people you touch. So I want to know, like, for other agents out there that are there that would aspire to be like you, how did you know that you went from like and maybe you never were at this point where you were like maybe a decent agent or maybe teetering on bad agent into a rock star agent? Like what were the things that you noticed about yourself or that changed that took you on that upward trajectory?
Okay, well, first off, I've always had really incredible managers. And the most important thing that a young agent can do in going to a real estate company is to vet the manager really carefully, to make sure that that manager knows a hell of a lot more about real estate than they do, to make sure that that manager understands how to problem solve, that they really have your back, that they actually care about you, not them, and to make sure that that manager is not a manager who is out there selling. You don't want to be in competition with your manager. I always used my man before I had enough money to do coaching. I actually would use my manager almost like a coach. I talked my first broker was this wonderful man named Muhammad Ahmed at Century 21 Imperial in Daly City. And I would have these endless conversations, and he knew everything about everything. It didn't matter what subject it was, he just knew. He was bright as could be. He was from Palestine. He'd come to this country with the clothes on his back and was a wealthy man living in Hillsborough. And I have to say that I have an enormous respect for any immigrants who come here with nothing and make something of themselves. I think that is the most powerful, amazing American story that there is. And I loved him for that. We had completely different politics. He had a picture of Reagan on the wall in his office. But so we didn't agree on politics at all, but we did agree on human beings, and he taught me how to deal with all kinds of situations. He was sort of like Jack LaLanne. He was this incredibly small, physically fit, very muscular guy, and he would stand up in front of our office, and he would have like the white pages, and he would take the white pages and he would rip it in half. And then he would rip it into other portions, and he would hand all of us a portion of the white pages, and he would make us call people, just cold call out. Now you can't do that anymore, but or on other days we'd come into the office for our office meeting and he'd be like door knocking, and so all of a sudden all of us would be walking around the streets of Daly City knocking on doors, and you'd get there and this woman, Mrs. Wilson, would answer the door and she'd go, oh, Muhammad's at it again. But it was good. I mean, it was really, really good because it taught you how to just get over yourself. Also, when you're in an office with people that are all making phone calls and it's so loud and you have to speak up, I was fine because I'm used to projecting and used to being out there with people. But a lot of the people that were a little bit more shy, they had to speak up in that situation because there was too much noise and they couldn't be heard over it if they didn't. So he was great. He was like one of those magical people that you meet in your life that is very giving, very kind. His wife Celia was this wonderful, wonderful person. Another thing that was interesting for me at that office, I was the only white person in the office. It was the first time I'd ever experienced that, which was an interesting thing for me. There were a lot of people from the Philippines there. Daly City has a huge Filipino population, a lot of Latinos, a lot of Black people, tons of Chinese people, and me. So, so I felt kind of culturally at sea in that office, and everybody was so warm and welcoming and very kind of free with their culture. So different, we'd have like potlucks and people would bring in the food that they would eat, and I would never know what it was, but I was hungry because I didn't have any money. So I would eat all of it. And it just taught me a lot about human beings and culture and what's important in life and what isn't, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, I loved that office. It was a wonderful, wonderful group of people, and it was the best foundation a human being could ever have in getting into real estate because I just learned a lot from Muhammad. And I learned that you have to expect that level from a manager. I've never been quite um, as well taken care of as I was by him. I think part of it was also I was like a sponge and I was learning everything while I was there. And as I got older and more sophisticated, it got a little harder to teach me some stuff, or if I had more experience or I'd been in the business longer than the person that was my manager, it was a little harder. When I have a problem in real estate, it's a doozy. It's not like a problem, did I sell the house twice? That's not the sort of problems I have. So mine are like, the successor trustee in Oakland where there's a statute that was done in 1871. I have those kinds of problems. So it's been an interesting journey along the way. I think that this other piece of advice that I would give to a young agent, if you don't have a great manager, get yourself a great coach. And there are a lot of coaches out there they have like group meetings as opposed to one-on-ones. One-on-ones are always very expensive. They're probably not even necessary for people that are just starting out in the business, but these group sessions are great. It's sort of like when I got my real estate license. I also got my real estate license going to a community college. I went to San Francisco community college in San Francisco. And having people in the class with you, they come up with questions that are not the ones you would ask because everybody's brains are different. And having other people asking those questions helped me to learn really efficiently and well, as opposed to like people that go online and get their license not in a class with a bunch of other people. They don't know what the questions are
Mhm.
to ask. So if you're with other people, you do better. So I think that that also formed a good foundation for me. Um, so if you can get into one of these groups where a coach is coaching like 30 or 40 people at a time, it's fantastic. You then the give and take between all of the different people in the class will help you. Um, so those are two pieces of big advice that I can give to people.
If there were a new agent out there and they wanted to do a coaching session, like how much does something like that cost?
It really depends on who the coach is. I remember I went to Tom Ferry, and I don't know if you're familiar with
Hmm.
Tom Ferry. It was kind of funny because back in the day, he doesn't do it anymore, I don't think. He would offer you one free session with him before you got assigned to a coach. And I remember getting him on the phone and talking to him and going, "Well, I want you as my coach." And he was like, "Well, you can't have me." And it was like, "Well, what's the point of going to your coaching when I don't even get you as a coach?" He was like, "All my people are really good. If you don't like it, you can get your money back." So when you work with an elite coach like a Tom Ferry, or my current coach is Vonda Martin, to have once a week sessions with somebody like that, and also to get access to all of their group sessions, is roughly between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. So it's expensive. There are other coaches out there that are more like $400 a session. So usually it's going to cost you at least $1,000 a month to have private sessions with a good coach, but possibly more. Um, do I think it's worth it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even to this day, Vonda keeps me grounded and accountable, and also she's a good problem solver. When I have, again, as I said, when I have a problem, it's a doozy. So
Yeah.
but when I can talk to somebody about a problem that I'm having and she can give that kind of advice, that's not, and it's not legal advice they're giving, it's how to get through it and get on to the next thing. Because another big thing for real estate agents is not getting mired in the crap that can come up. As soon as you deal with beings, you're dealing with very unusual stuff. And it's stuff you can't predict. And if you take it all in, it's sort of like I always think about people that massage people. How how do they not take in some of the bad energy that those people have?
Mm.
How do they stay safe and sane and connected to themselves and not lose themselves in that moment? And in real estate, you can get so bogged down by other people's problems that you forget that you're there to push things along and make it happen.
Absolutely.
um, so a coach is really good for making you able to get over it. I had one coach that was very, very good, but I we didn't get along that well on our politics and stuff. So I ended up transferring to a different coach, which is how I, in a long circle, got to Vonda. But she had this phrase that she would always say, because I'd be on there whining about some transaction or something, and she would say, "Too bad, so sad. Let's move on." And I'd get so pissed off. I'd be like, "Oh, keep complaining. I want to keep being upset." But in reality, she was absolutely right. You got to look forward. You can't keep you need to learn from the past, but realize you're in going forward.
Yeah. Andrew, what I love about your story is the constant theme of personal growth.
Mhm.
All of your stories have personal growth in them. Every stop,
Mhm.
every job, every coach shows great personal growth within you.
Thank you.
And I'm still so impressed that you're still getting coached. Like I wouldn't have expected that either, but it shows that no matter how well you do, there's still room for more
Oh,
growth
absolutely.
and more learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My dad was a concert pianist, and I was very intimidated because he was amazing. And so I took up violin when I was a kid. I didn't want to be, I had piano lessons and I learned how to read music, but I stopped. And when I would turn 60, I decided to start taking piano lessons again. And by the time I was 65, I had bought myself a Steinway Grand. and I'm still taking lessons. I take a weekly lesson. I'm going to learn every single Chopin piece ever written before I'm done. And I think I'm actually getting better. So there's never any stop to getting better. There's never any stop to being more and fulfilling more of your potential as a human being. If you think that you're old, you'll be old. If you think that you are not capable, you won't be capable. If you think that you can't do it, you can't do it. If you think you can, you can. I believe in manifesting everything that I believe to be important to me.
Incredible. I mean, just listening to you, I feel inspired. I'm ready to go out and try to sell some houses.
Yeah.
So, kind of switching gears, can you kind of tell me what you think the real estate agent's role is in the movement of the local economy?
We are absolutely crucial. We are absolutely crucial, and people don't realize it. There's a whole group of young people right now who think that you're going to be able to buy a house by pushing a button. And that would be true if every house was exactly the same. But the reality is that every house is different. Every house you walk into the basement, some of them smell like mold, some of them smell like water, some of them are nice and clean and fresh smelling. Sometimes you
Mhm.
drive around the block and you see that there's a tree leaning over the roof of the house. I mean, our observations and our humanness that allows us to formulate and analyze what we're experiencing before us is absolutely crucial, and no AI is going to be able to take that over. So in answer to your question, which was can you rephrase it for me again, please?
Talking about the importance of a real estate agent in terms of boosting the local
Yeah.
economy.
In answer to your question around the local economy, that was the part that I was missing. Um, our transfer taxes from sales absolutely fund every single city in the nation that has city transfer taxes. If they have county transfer taxes, it is funding those counties. Um, how people live, how people build homes, how people are situated in a community is completely dependent upon real estate when you think about it. Where people live, whether they're on septic, what the environmental regulations are, what the dimensions of houses that are allowed, ADUs, whether you can put an ADU in your house, whether you are going to build a multi-unit building, whether you are, all of those things bring money into the economy. All of those things also can cause blight in the economy. For example, rent control, which is a very, very complicated issue. It's kind of been proven that when rent control is in place in the ways it's in place in many areas of the country, it actually causes urban blight. Because when you set landlords up not to be able to realize um, a when they cannot work on those buildings and make them better, then they just let them go to hell. And when they go to hell, the quality of the tenancy goes down. When the quality of the tenancy goes down, you start seeing even more deterioration, lawlessness. The schools suffer. It's essentially it's a way of creating redlining, actually. When you think about it, do you know what redlining
Oh yeah.
is, both of you?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
There are so many unintended consequences from people trying to do good. It's like mind boggling. When you set yourself up to to make one particular economic group in society to alleviate pain in one area for them, there's always a concomitant place where that pain erupts again, one way or another. It's really funny. I mean, it's sort of like Murphy's law that you try hard to do something nice and it will backfire because in areas where there is they've okay, I'm going to try and come up with an example. They have done studies where they've incentivized teachers to go work in rural areas, and so teachers left the urban areas to go work in the rural areas, and therefore the quality. And so younger teachers who were not as experienced came into urban areas, did not know how to control their classrooms, did not know how to actually teach, and were failures. And so, because they were failures, they lost students, more students from those schools, which meant that the state government gave them less money to run those schools. When less money came into those schools, things like the arts, music, um, sports, and all sorts of things that make school worthwhile for kids were dropped, which meant that a lot of kids were growing up without proper education, without experiencing the arts, or without experiencing, let's say you have a bunch of gifted kids. They cut out the gifted kid programs because there aren't the teachers to teach them. Um, there are unintended consequences for people not um, not recognizing that by just moving the chess pieces around you create problems. What needs to happen is more money needs to go into all of the schools, not just some of them. More money needs to go into education for teachers. The pay level needs to be raised for teachers.
Absolutely.
It's there are so many parts to this that people don't get. I and people, you can call me a socialist if you want, but I believe education should be free. I also believe that you end the drug problem if you just legalized all drugs. Think about it for a minute. What would happen? Right now, there's a huge business in prisons, like an enormous business in prisons. It's evil. It's just pure unmitigated evil as far as I'm concerned. And when you create profit sectors in places where you are punishing people, you create a very angry society. Right now, I've never seen so much anger in my life as I've been seeing in the last few months, frankly. And it started off about what, 8 years ago.
Right.
And I don't know if it was just. I think that the president is just a figurehead. Honestly, that he is. He's not the cause. He's the result of the cause, and the cause is, as we all know, endemic racism in this country. I swear to God. But but in any case, which is again why I work in Berkeley. I love Oakland. Actually, I just wrote my last article for I'm the columnist for Berkeley Hills Living and for Montclair Living, and I write the real estate column for them every month. And I just wrote my last column as a love letter to Oakland because I'm so sick of Oakland getting a bad rap. I love Oakland. It's one of the most vital, beautiful, enormous, terrific cities on the planet, and nobody's giving it the credit that it really deserves. There was a little heyday there, little tiny heyday of a few years ago, where people were like realizing what a renaissance that was occurring in Oakland, and the media has been badgering us lately, and I really wanted to stop. So I've gone off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No. That's
You
totally fine. I mean, there
can,
were so many great points that you brought up, and so many interesting tidbits. So I'm glad that you went on that bunny trail. So very happy. So I got a question for you
yeah.
around advice. You've had a great starting manager to your real estate career. You've utilized coaching for accountability and all the other things. What's the best piece of advice you've received as a real estate agent?
I think the best piece of advice I've ever received as a real estate agent is to be truthful. I think that that's, again, not sugarcoating anything. You don't do anybody any favors by not being straight up with them. People will ultimately respect you and appreciate you more if you just tell them the truth.
Excellent point.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's so. Yeah, and I think that is true for anyone, not
Mhm.
just real estate agents.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but let me ask you this, Andrea. How do you think the current changes in the real estate laws will impact real estate sales going forward?
Uh, Not particularly, honestly. I think that the buyer broker agreement, which is now required for anybody who wants to show a property, is a good thing. I mean, there's always been a listing
Mhm.
agreement, and I think that having to sign an agreement with your buyers, all that's going to happen is that eventually people will, I'm going to guesstimate that what will happen is that over time, the sellers will stop paying the buyer agents and the buyers will start paying their agents. We're now, right now, in this weird gray area where agents who are not strong agents and don't know how to talk to their sellers are having a big trouble talking to them about paying them when you sign that agreement with them. I don't know why, when you're signing a listing agreement, you have no problem asking for to be paid, because you're going to get paid what you're worth, because you're going to work really hard for them. Same thing's going to happen with the buyer. You're going to work really, really hard for them. You're going to be looking at 30 properties with them a week. You're going to be writing offer after offer. You're going to, protect them all the way through the transaction. This is a lot of time that's spent, and it should be remunerated. Um, so I feel like the buyer broker agreement is a really good thing. I feel like clear cooperation is kind of stupid, honestly. I'm not a big fan of clear cooperation, because it tells it, and I'm with Robert Refkin on that. He's my CEO of my company. But I think that a seller should be able to market their property however they wish. It is their property. We are in a free market system. You should be able to tell your agent, no, I don't want it in the multiple listing service. Yes, I do want it in the multiple listing service. I'd like you to tell all the neighbors that it's available, but I don't want you to tell the whole world yet. All of those things should be in the purview of the seller. It's not your house, it's their house, as I said before. So
Mm-hmm.
clear cooperation to me seems more like a response to Compass doing private exclusives when it first started out, than it does to anything else. I feel like the MLSs I feel like they're necessary. I feel like the part of clear cooperation that's stupid is, and the NAR lawsuits and all of that's stupid, is that the MLS used to be able to tell people what the commission would be on a transaction. Most realtors are very honest. They're not going to not show a house because it's not 3%. They're going to show any house that their buyer is interested in. Duh. Especially now, if there's a buyer broker agreement that says that if the seller isn't paying a standard commission, they're going to be paid a standard commission anyway. So to take that out of the multiple listing service, what it does for someone like me, like right now, I have 15 active listings. Okay. I get phone calls all day long. Is the seller willing to pay me? Is the seller willing to pay me? That's not useful. That's not a useful use of my time. It's not a useful use of anybody's time. When you go to a greengrocer and you want to buy an orange, and that orange is 67 cents, do you buy that orange? Yes, you do. You buy that orange, and that greengrocer has set the price on that orange. When you go to the doctor, do you pay him the $250 for the visit? Yes, you do. And that doctor has set that price, right? Why is it that realtors are not allowed to have a standard price that's paid to them? And why is it that the lawyers adjudicating the commission lawsuits were paid a 40% standard fee in $4 billion lawsuit? It's not fair. It's not right. It shouldn't have been done. But I'm just a lowly agent. I'm not running the show. Oh, and by the way, while I was telling you those stats about realtors and people of color, I want to point out, and men of color, I should say, I want to point out that less than 9% of the executive offices of real estate companies are held by women. So to me, it's just a lot of these regulations and rules are actually just racist and sexist more than anything else.
Interesting.
Who gets hurt? Who's going to get
Yeah.
hurt? It's women. It's women and people of color.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, Andrew, this has been great. I mean, you have seen a lot, you have done a lot, and I have learned more about theater and real estate than I ever thought I would know.
You're
So, in closing, we want to wrap up with our lightning round. So, just
okay.
like a handful of quick questions and quick answers. So you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Favorite local restaurant?
Oh gosh, I would have to say, for me, Bellanico on Park Boulevard.
What would the beginner playwright Andrea say to real estate Andrea?
Beginner playwright Andrea say to real estate Andrea, don't give up your day job.
If you
There's
could
no,
leave a note, if you could leave a note for Santa, what would it say?
Hmm. Please give all my presents to the children that don't have any.
Oh, that's nice. All right. If you were stuck on an island and you could have only one album, what would it be?
um, mm, my goodness. One album, what would it be? Well, I'm a nerd, so I'm gonna say, um, mm, probably Benjamin Britten's Peter Grimes, the opera.
All right, and the last one, Whole Foods or Berkeley Bowl?
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Politically, Berkeley Bowl, realistically, Whole Foods.
Uh, Good, and that's the end of the lightning round.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really like supporting Jeff Bezos, but whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, that's I mean, we're sort of done with the interview now, but I absolutely love Berkeley Bowl, which made me ask you that question because you live in Berkeley, so I figured you'd have a perspective on that. But
my problem with Berkeley Bowl is the parking lot,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
I once I once almost got into a fist fight in the parking lot of Berkeley Bowl, and it was really weird. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for this parking space, and as the woman pulled out and was going out, this woman in a smart car zips in to get my spot, and I've been waiting for like 5
Mhm.
minutes. And I got out of my car and went over to her, and then she gets out of the car and she was like a head taller than me and outweighed me by probably 50 pounds. And I was like, oh, okay, you can have it. I left. But it's like every time I pass by Berkeley
Yeah,
Bowl, I I worry about parking there.
yeah. See, my trick is if you go during the week, mid morning
Hmm.
to midday, it's a lot better. I never go there on the weekend anymore. It's like terrible.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, yeah,
But I do love that
yeah.
place.
Yeah, well, the quality of the produce, what have you, it's really good,
Yeah.
and it's not. If you go to Whole Foods, they've got a lot more stuff,
Hmm.
but Berkeley Bowl, I like some of the bulk
Yeah.
Oh
things you
yeah.
can get
Yeah.
there. So.
Okay.